I'm a better father than you, Rick. I'm better for Lori than you, man. It's because I'm a better man than you, Rick, because I can be here and I'll fight for it.
Because if you got something good, that just means that there's someone who wants to take it.
What we want is what you got. Period.
They still think that I'm the man that can keep them safe.
You didn't kill him.
Enough! Rick, it ain't like it was before.
Tell me. Make me understand.
They're all gone now. Because of you! They counted on you! You were their leader!
What do you want me to say?
It's not about what you say. It's about facing reality.
I know that you've been out there, but I can see it. You don't know what it is to be hungry.
It's all about survival now, at any cost. People out there are always looking for an angle, looking to play on your weakness. They measure you by what they can take from you, by how they can use you to live. I've killed people. I don't even know how many by now, but I know why they're all dead. They're dead so my family, all those people out there, can be alive. So I could be alive for them.
You ruled the roost. You built something. You thought you were safe. I get it. But the word is out. You are not safe.
Alright, my Walking Dead peeps, fellow Roshoners and shippers alike, we've come to the end of a long road, which ends with the fall of Savage Rick. I want to thank all of my viewers and subscribers who've made it this far into the series. Your support as always is much appreciated. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to like and subscribe. And now that we have the housekeeping out of the way, let's jump back into the subject of this video. In Season 6, Episode 11, Knots Untie, we see a new stranger, Jesus, who after catching Rick and Michonne in a compromising position, is being held at gunpoint by Carl.
Carl. Hey,
It's okay.
It's interesting to note that the only person who doesn't seem surprised to catch Rick and Michonne running out of a bedroom while adjusting their clothing is Daryl. Later, Jesus tells Rick and the others that he comes from a community much like theirs, and that he thinks that they would be able to help each other. He tells them that Hilltop is already working with other communities. Knowing his group is in a desperate situation and in need of food, Rick reluctantly agrees to take Jesus back to his home and speak with their leader, Gregory.
Jesus, you're back. With guests.
Everyone, this is Gregory. He keeps the trains running on time around here.
I'm the boss.
I'm Rick. We have a community.
Why don't you all go get cleaned up? It's hard to keep this place clean.
In this moment, the killer look is back in Rick's eye. It's like he can sense and taste the blood ahead. He tells Maggie that she should be the one to speak to Gregory after they clean up. The savage within had been quiet since the time the horde was cleared from Alexandria, and this was Rick's way of keeping it at bay. It isn't long before a small group of Hilltoppers arrive and tell Gregory what happened on their drop-off to the Saviors. Ethan asks Gregory if their drop-off was light because several of them were killed and his brother was taken and being held until they can make it right. But Ethan stabs Gregory and says this is the only way the Saviors will return his brother.
I have to!
Draw this.
What?
Jesus breaks up the fight and later tells Rick about the Saviors and how they killed a 16-year-old boy when they showed up just to prove a point. Unbeknownst to Rick, his people, and even Jesus, this was the first sign that Negan's rules on killing have been disobeyed by his followers. After hearing this and still covered in Ethan's blood, Rick says that some of his people had a run-in with another group of Negan's people and offers to take care of the Saviors in exchange for food. In his mind, going up against the Saviors was just the same shit, different day. His group could hold their own. They were the ones who lived, and they were the sort that killed. Maggie takes Rick's deal to Gregory, who initially only wanted Rick and his people to work for the food and doubted that they could take care of Negan's people. Maggie assures him that they would hold up their end of the bargain, as long as he did. Throughout the last half of the episode, it's like Maggie is the only one who can see and feel the disaster ahead.
This is the trade.
It's gonna cost us something.
Rick later talks to Michonne and asks her if she's up for the task, and as always, she's a ride or die. Before the day's end, we see the last moments of peace for Rick and his people, a peace most of them won't see again for nearly a year. Back at Alexandria, Rick calls a meeting and tells everyone of the proposed deal that had been brokered with the Hilltop. At this point, despite what it looks like, or the opposition he faces from the other Alexandrians, Rick was standing steadfast in the Savages' beliefs.
We have to come for them before they come for us. We can't leave them alive.
Where there's life, there's possibility.
Well, them hitting us.
Hey, we're not trapped in this. None of you are trapped in this.
They always come back.
Come back when they're dead, too.
Yeah, we'll stop them. We have before.
I'm not talking about the walkers.
Rick leaves the church with a similar sentiment that he made at the end of Season 2, Episode 13. Anyone who didn't like what was happening? Tough. You just gotta live with it. That night, Rick and the others devise a plan of attack. Now, we have all heard the phrase, pride cometh before a fall, and right now, Rick is literally at the edge of the cliff once again. Only this time, nothing and no one can pull him back.
Like I said, I think there's only one way in, and there's no way to bust through that door without waking up the rest of them.
We don't need to. They're gonna open it for us. Let us walk right in. They want Gregory's head, right? We're gonna give it to him.
By this time, Rick's savage mindset had infiltrated the belief system of most of his people, most notably Glenn, Gabriel, and Aaron.
Why are you still wearing that?
Still who I was.
Think.
And it'll be harder for them to see me in the dark.
What happened here?
We won't let that happen again. I won't.
We're gonna kill those people. Tonight. I've been lucky. I haven't had to do it before. Have you? I've been lucky too.
While looking for a walker whose head they can pass off as Gregory's, Carol questions Rick as to why he allowed Maggie, who was pregnant, to come with them. Rick tells her that they need every able-bodied person.
She shouldn't be out there alone. She shouldn't be out here in the first place.
Okay.
Good.
Putting the most vulnerable people in his group at risk was something that Rick had never done before, so it was no surprise that Carol was taken aback by this. Later, after killing the sentries at the satellite station, Rick and the others began killing the other saviors in their sleep. We could see it in Rick's face. This was something foreign to him, something that went against his previous code. He wasn't giving these people a chance. He couldn't afford to, not without the risk of losing everything again. And if it cost him his humanity, then so be it. At least his family would be alive. We also get another first. Glenn, for the first time, kills another human being. While behind him, Heath goes to make his first kill, but is stopped by Glenn. This second kill seemed to come a little easier for Glenn, and he notices some Polaroids taped to the wall above his victim. During this kill spree, others in the group seemingly try to justify their actions, trying to make sense of it so they could live with it after.
It wasn't us. It was gonna be you.
In my father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you.
You're all dead.
I go prepare a place for you.
Blood's coming.
Another day dawns and they have cleared the satellite station, believing that the fight was over. So far during the first 6 seasons of The Walking Dead, we've heard many a song played during montages. But the song played during this scene, Arsonist Lullaby by Hosier, sums up Rick's entire existence, I think. In particular, the song's hook, which goes like this. All you have is your fire and the place you need to reach. Don't ever tame your demons, but always keep them on the leash. Rick had failed to keep the Savage on a leash, and right now the Savage was running free. Rick was tired of losing people he loved, tired of giving chances to strangers, tired of being the good guy, and he had no wish to subdue his demons. Just as Rick and his people believe the dust has settled, they see a lone savior trying to escape on Daryl's missing bike. They quickly capture the savior known as Nino, and he shouts at Rick to do it, kill him like he and his people killed everyone else. Rick looks to be contemplating the request when his thoughts are interrupted by a woman's voice coming from Nino's walkie. The woman tells Rick that she has a Maggie and a Carol, and that's something she thinks he wants to talk about. In episode 13, Rick tells Maggie and Carol's captors that they will trade their guy, Primo, for his people. Of course, this deal doesn't come to fruition, and the small group of saviors take Maggie and Carol to another location and hunker down to wait for backup. Through this episode, we get a glimpse into the mindset of Negan's followers.
You're not the good guys. You should know that.
You said they were working for Negan?
What do you think you know about Negan?
He sounded like a maniac. We're scared we had to stop him.
Sweetie, sweetie. We are all Negan.
What do you mean? What does that mean?
Like Rick's people, most of the saviors have become extensions of their leader, some willingly, others out of desperation. Eventually, Carol and Maggie get the upper hand on their captors, and when they reunite with Rick and the others, Maggie tells Glenn that she can't do this anymore. The blood had become too much for her, just as it had become too much for Carol and Morgan.
Was Negan in that building last night, or was he here?
Both. I'm Negan, shithead. There's a whole world of fun that we can talk about. So let's have a chat.
I'm sorry it had to come to this.
Both. That word should have been significant to Rick. It should have made him question Primo further, but Rick wasn't in control. The Savage was, and all that mattered was ending the opposition. Back at Alexandria, Morgan has just finished the jail cell that he has been working on since his pleas to reason with the Saviors before attacking had fallen on deaf ears.
Morgan. Why?
It'll give you some choices next time.
We can see it in Rick's eyes. He believes that there is no choice but to hit first. His people were all that mattered, and chances were not to be given anymore. During this episode, we see a few things. Eugene and Abraham split up after an argument, and Eugene is captured by a group of saviors led by Dwight, who later attacked Daryl, Rosita, and Denise, who had gone on a run for medicine. Denise is killed, and Eugene gives his people an opening to fight. Later, we see Abraham, who's ended things with Rosita, shoot his shot with Sasha.
Come inside.
And Carol has made the decision to leave Alexandria. Episode 15, East, I think is by far the most heartbreaking of the season, considering what happens in the season finale. In one of the opening shots, we get a look at a book resting on the nightstand beside Rick and Michonne's bed, The Indwelling, by Jerry Jenkins and Tim LaHaye. This book tells of the coming tribulation in the end times. Rick doesn't seem to have a care in the world right now. I mean, he's laying bare-bodied against Michonne and eating the symbol of the original sin that his girl has given him. The irony is certainly not lost in this scene.
This is good.
It is. She's worried about an attack.
When they come for us, we'll end it. The whole thing. This won't be like before. We're putting everything in place, and these people know what to do now. The world's ours, and we know how to take it. Everything we need is right here, inside these walls. And we're not losing any of it again. I'm not.
No, you're not. I'm not.
Later, as Maggie is going over her preparations with Glenn and Michonne that she has made in case of an attack, they see Daryl heading out of Alexandria. Knowing that he is going after the Saviors, Michonne, Glenn, and Rosita go after him. Rick is told later by Abraham what happened, and Tobin also drops the bomb that Carol left during the night. Morgan says that he'll go after Carol, and Rick says he'll go with him. Right now, Rick has no idea that he is already free-falling off the metaphorical cliff. Meanwhile, Carol has run into a group of Saviors whom she has no problem taking down. Rick and Morgan come upon the scene later, and Rick says that he's proud of Carol for taking down these men by herself.
They were close to Alexandria. There's even more of them. Didn't end it.
No. You started something.
Rick looks as if he's pondering Morgan's words, but they're still not sinking in. Morgan also tells Rick that he knows that he sent Carol away from the prison because she killed 2 people.
What if that had happened today? Would you kill her?
If it happened today, I'd thank her. Or I would have killed her myself. She was right to do it. They were sick, spreading a disease. They weren't gonna make it.
Yeah, but this was back then. And you didn't kill her. You sent her away, Rick. And she came back. And she came back and she saved all y'all. People can come back, Rick.
Elsewhere, Michonne, Glenn, and Rosita have caught up with Daryl, and they try to convince him to come back home.
We need to get back there and figure this out from home. Our home. We need you. And everyone back there needs us right now. It's gonna go wrong out here.
By this time, Rick and Morgan's journey has ended, and they've come to the realization that they were on the wrong trail. After realizing that Rick is still not listening to his warnings about killing, he makes it more personal. He tells Rick about Owen and how he captured him, and Denise treated his wounds. He tells him that when Owen and Denise got pinned down, Owen saved Denise, and Denise in turn was able to save Carl. Just as Morgan's decision to spare Owen had come full circle and saved Carl's life, Rick's decision to attack the satellite station was coming full circle, and it was going to cost lives. In the last episode of the season, Last Day on Earth, we see Rick along with Abe, Sasha, Carl, and a few others load up into an RV to take Maggie, who is having complications with her pregnancy, to the Hilltop doctor. On the road, they are forced to come to a stop by a group of saviors led by Simon, Negan's right-hand man. Simon and the rest of his men, having captured the last survivor of a library group, have the man laid out on the road as an example of what happens when people didn't follow the saviors' rules. Rick tells Simon that they can make a deal, and Simon says he's right, and he wanted all of the Alexandrian stuff, that they might have to kill one of Rick's people, but then they can move forward on business. Rick counters with, I was about to ask for all of your stuff, only I'm thinking I don't have to kill any of you. Any more of you. Not coming to a consensus on who's going to get whose stuff, Rick says that he and his people are leaving. Now Rick is still feeding off of the savage's indestructible nature, and he turns back to Simon and asks him, do you want this to be your last day on Earth? Simon, not being one to back down, retorts with, that's a good question. You never know when it's going to be your last day on Earth. And he tells Rick to be extra kind to the people in the RV, because you never know. Even now, Rick stands on the threaten or kill first ideal. It doesn't seem to cross his mind at this moment that the saviors had done what he failed to do. Proper reconnaissance before attacking. Rick's group gets back in the RV and chooses another route to take to the Hilltop. We get a moment that will become bittersweet between Sasha and Abraham.
Glenn and Maggie. Just asking if you could do that. If doing something as big as that, if that's living.
Could you?
Yeah. I could. Now.
Just like their leader, the rest of the group has not grasped the seriousness of the situation with the saviors. It's not until they run into a second, third, and then fourth roadblock.
That's Michonne's.
That's Daryl's.
Go back.
Exactly. Where? Rick had come to a point that he was now ready to go back, but now there was no going back. No do-overs, no chance to rewind the clock and make different decisions. Earlier, a look of disbelief had been etched across Rick's face as he stared down at Michonne's dread. He had no idea if she and the others were dead or alive, and he couldn't think about that. The mission hadn't changed. He needed to get Maggie to Hilltop.
You're gonna be okay. The baby's gonna be okay. This isn't it. This isn't it. There's more. There's gonna be more.
I believe in you, Rick.
While this has been going on, Morgan has found Carol, who was injured, but she refuses to go back to Alexandria. She manages to slip away while Morgan is searching the exterior of the library that they were holed up in, and runs into a savior who had made it out of the street massacre.
You can survive this. You can. Drop it. Please.
No.
After Morgan is approached by the man whom he and Rick had seen earlier, he tells the man that he found his horse and that his friend needs help. Back on the road, Rick's people come to the last roadblock they will face this day, and as they formulate a new course of action, their attention is drawn to a sign behind them. The captured man from earlier is dropped over the side of a bridge, and X spray painted over his chest and abdomen, just to drive home the fact to Rick and his people that the saviors were everywhere, and it didn't matter which road they took or how far they traveled, the saviors would always be there. Later, Eugene volunteers to be a decoy and says he'll drive the RV while the rest of the group continue to Hilltop on foot through the woods. As they make their way, Carl tells his father that he won't let what happened to Denise and the others happen again. Rick seems as if he's about to caution Carl from this line of thinking, when he is interrupted by a cacophony of chilling whistles that seem to be coming from all around them in the darkness.
Go! Go!
Welcome to where you're going.
Gonna need you on your knees.
Alright, my Walking Dead peeps, fellow Roshoners and shippers alike, we all know how the Savage was born. It was a steady growing seed that had been watered and nurtured by Rick's experiences before and after the fall. The Savage, whether Rick knew it or not, were the ideals, beliefs, and fears held by different people within his group and his adversaries. It was a combination of voiced accusations and paralyzing doubts about his ability to do what needed to be done. He had given into darkness, let it cloak his humanity, and he'd fed off of the blood the Savage had spilled. But just as Maggie had predicted, it was going to cost not only him, but all of them something. After Simon points out Rick as their leader, Negan proceeds to introduce himself and lays out his grievances to Rick.
Hi. You're Rick, right? I'm Negan. And I do not appreciate you killing my men. Also, when I sent my people to kill your people for killing my people, you killed more of my people. Not cool.
He seemed to size Rick's journey up to this point pretty quickly. He says that Rick built something, and he thought that he and his people were safe.
There is no right. It's just the wrong that doesn't pull you down.
It hasn't pulled me down.
I think it will. Because I know you.
It's hard to tell what is going through Rick's mind right now. He might be pondering on the mistake of not listening to Morgan's counsel after they were reunited. The mistake of not letting the fight go like Michonne had asked him to. Or maybe the biggest mistake of not listening to Bob when he warned him about not letting the things that have happened change who he truly was. Rick seems to be both present and far away from the situation at hand, as Negan tells him and his group that they work for him now, and that the more they fight, the harder it will be. Now remember what I said about members of Rick's group taking on parts of his savage nature. In this case, impulsiveness. When Negan steps in front of Maggie and makes a comment about putting her out of her misery, Glenn jumps towards Negan and is quickly subdued.
Yeah. Nope. Nope, get him back in line.
No. No.
Don't any of you
Do that again.
I will shut that shit down, no exceptions. First one's free. It's an emotional moment. I get it.
Like the governor, Negan likes to play mind games to strike fear into his enemies. The shock value is what he thrives on. After playing a game of Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Moe, he chooses Abraham and proceeds to end him in front of everyone. Only intending to kill one of Rick's people for the many saviors that were killed, Negan feels his hand is forced by Daryl, who also attacks Negan on impulse. When he puts Lucille, who is covered in Abraham's blood, in Rosita's face, we all know what happens next.
Oh, no. Now, I don't know what kind of lying assholes you've been dealing with, but I'm a man of my word. First impressions are important. I need you to know me.
The scene that caused many fans to do a quick exodus from the series, Glenn's brutal death.
Back to it.
Despite the atrocities that have just taken place, Rick is still unshaken from the savage's resolve. He even goes so far as to verbally rebel against Negan's authority.
I'm gonna kill you. What? I didn't quite catch that. You're gonna have to speak up. Not today. Not tomorrow. But I'm gonna kill you.
Negan appears fascinated with Rick. It was probably the first time anyone had said such a thing after witnessing the work of Lucille. It's like he knows immediately that it's going to take more for Rick to truly break, and he drives him back to one of the roadblocks and throws an axe out of the RV and tells Rick to go get it and bring it back. Like Rick, Negan is a good judge of character, and he realizes that Rick's weakness is his people, his family. He drives back to the clearing and orders his people to put guns behind the Alexandrians' heads, and after tying Carl's arm off, he orders him to the ground beside his father.
Please don't. Rick?
I ain't doing shit.
Rick, I want you to take your axe.
Cut your son's left arm off, right on that line.
You don't have to do this. We understand. We understand.
You understand? Yeah. I'm not sure that Rick does. You answer to me. You provide for me. You belong to me. Right? Speak when you're spoken to! You answer to me. You provide for me.
Provide for you.
You belong to me. Right! That is the look I wanted to see.
In this moment, one can't help but think that this is it. This is the moment the savage died, right here in this clearing. For a long time, that's what I thought too. But not even Negan would be able to kill this alter ego. He could quiet it for a while, but it wouldn't last. It would take something much stronger than any adversary, weapon, or loss that Rick had ever faced to finally put the savage back on his leash for good.
Things have changed. Whatever you had going for you, that is over now.
Was it supposed to be this way? Is this who you want it to be?
I'm not losing you or Carl or anyone else. I'm not losing anyone else.
In case you haven't caught on, I just slid my dick down your throat, and you thanked me for it.
You've led us all to the promised land, isn't that right, Rick? Here we are! I guess Glenn and Abraham were lucky too?
Those who use and take and kill to carve out the world and make it theirs alone, we end them.
There's only one person who has to die. And I will kill him myself. I will.
We're the ones who get things done, you said that. We're the ones who live.
Why do you seek an audience with the king?
We came to ask the kingdom to ask you to join us in fighting the saviors, fighting for freedom for all of us.
I told you already, I'm gonna kill you. All of you.
Look at us, Rick. Look at us. We're two assholes who'll do whatever we have to just to keep going. I think you can talk all you want. You can say all the words, Lori, Shane, Andrea, Glenn. They're all dead. And somewhere along the way, Officer Friendly died right along with them.
My mom told me that you gotta do what's right. Sort of know what that is sometimes, but sometimes it's not.
Your dad didn't want anything to do with me. He didn't, but sometimes kids have to find their own way to show their parents the way. If you care, you do something. You don't just hope. It takes more than that. We're fighting, so it's all of us working together for something more than just killing other people.
You think we're gonna be out there picking strawberries with Negan?
That's what it takes. It's more than just hope. What, are we just gonna kill all of them?
Why? After everything he did to you, huh? Why do this? He'd win. Finding some way forward, that's harder. That's something more. Yeah, that's how it's gotta be.
Carl, we can't just let them have this place.
We can. All you need to do is survive tonight. This is my show. You said it. This is my plan, and you're gonna do it. You're all gonna do it.
Oh, holy shit! Everybody hold your fire, it's Carl. Look at you, answering the door like a big boy. You wanna die?
No, I don't. But I will. It's gonna happen. And if me dying could stop this, if it can make things different for us, for you, for all those other kids, it'd be worth it.
I remember my 8th birthday at the KCC with that giant cake and Aunt Evie showing up on leave, surprising all of us. I remember Mom. I remember Codger. I remember school and going to the movies and Friday night pizza and cartoons and Grandma and Grandpa and church, those summer barbecues and the kiddie pool you got me. Could've used that at the prison. You told me about the walks we'd take when I was 3. You holding my hand around the neighborhood all the way to Ross's farm. I didn't know that I remembered them, but I do. Because I see the sun and the corn and that cow that walked up to the fence and looked me in the eye. And you told me about all that stuff, but it isn't just that stuff, it's how I felt. Holding your hand, I felt happy and special. I felt safe. I thought growing up was about getting a job and maybe a family, being an adult, but growing up is making yourself and the people you love safe. As safe as you can, because things happen. They happened before. You were shot before things went bad. Kind of felt like things went bad because you were shot. I want to make you feel safe, Dad. I want you to feel like I felt when you held my hand. Just to feel that way for 5 minutes. I'd give anything to make you feel that way now. I wanted to kill Negan. I wish I did. Maybe it would have been done. I don't think it's done now. You went out there again, but I don't think they surrendered. I don't think they will surrender. There are workers in there, Dad. They're just regular people, old people, young people, families. You don't want them to die, Dad. We're so close to starting everything over, and we have friends now. It's that bigger world Jesus talked about. The kingdom, the hilltop, there's gotta be more places. More people out there, a chance for everything to change and keep changing. Everyone giving everyone the opportunity to have a life, a real life. So if they won't end it, you have to. You have to give them a way out. You have to find peace with Negan. Find a way forward somehow. We don't have to forget what happened, but you can make it so that it won't happen again. That nobody has to live this way, that every life is worth something. Start everything over. Show everyone that they can be safe again without killing. You can still be who you were. That's how it could be. It could.
Why'd you save me? Why? Because my son was there.
The New World. Throughout Rick's journey, there have been different people who have spoken of this ideal. We've heard phrases like, "It's not like it was before," or "It's all about survival now." We've heard rumblings and murmurs of doubt when it came to Rick's ability to protect his people. We've seen Rick suffer through betrayal and loss and the guilt that weighed on him because of said loss. Through his tribulation, these experiences had been internalized, hardened, and sculpted into the man we know as Savage Rick. He'd shaken off his humanity and tucked his kind heart away from the fallen world.
You'll die. You'll all...
Shut up.
This had allowed him to kill without mercy, to take what he wanted and leave behind the hope of something better than what was. Rick, whether he realized it or not, had been on a mission to shape the world to his will when he met a man who already had. Negan was further down the road that led to destruction, and his end was soon at hand.
Attaboy!
But in him, Carl saw what no one else saw. Negan's way, his dad's way, was not sustainable. Carl had been the only thing that Rick and Negan both agreed on. Despite Negan knowing the young man for such a short time, Carl's brutal honesty and general badassery made him take notice.
It's easy to forget that you're just a kid.
He genuinely respected Carl. I like to think that, just like with Rick, Carl saw that there was a better man within Negan, a man he hoped would find that good part of himself and hold on to it. Carl said that if his death could stop the fighting, if it could make everything better for everyone, including Negan, he would die.
You brought me here. You gave me a chance. I know I can never repay you, but I can honor you by showing your people, your friends, your family, that what you did wasn't for nothing, that it mattered, that it meant something.
His words proved prophetic. Through Carl's eyes, Rick saw how life could be if he would let the fight go, because the fight, just as Michonne had predicted, had turned on him and left a trail of devastating loss in its wake.
I couldn't take the chance. I didn't kill the walker that killed Dale. Look what happened.
Son, that is not the same
You
thing.
didn't kill Andrew. And he came back and killed Mom. I did what I had to do.
Back at the prison, the coldness that had started to encompass his son's being had caused Rick to put down his gun and show his boy a better way.
Gonna have to get you farming hat.
And now, again faced with the opportunity to end another adversary, Carl reminded Rick of who he truly was. He was the man who gave chances to those who didn't deserve it. The man who would help a stranger escape their captors. The man who could forgive others who had wronged him. The man whose mercy prevailed over his wrath. Carl's parting gift of not only hope, but mercy had subdued the savage that had waged war in his father's place.
Negan's alive. But his way of doing things is over. And anyone who can't live with that will pay the price. I promise you that. But any person here who would live in peace and fairness, who would find common ground, this world is yours by right. We are life. That's death. And it's coming for us. Unless we stand together. So go home. Then the work begins. The new world begins. All this is just what was. There's got to be something after.
This was the true way to the new world. And what would follow after? Well, that story was waiting to be written.
I found him.